Many hundreds of years ago, there lived far away in the northern mountains of China a very beautiful girl named Lu Qinting. She was an only daughter, and having no girl companions came to spend most of her time with her brothers. For long years, the country had been rent by rebellions and wars. The children, breathing in the spirit of their fathers, played at sham battles and dreamed of rescuing their land. Qinting came gradually to be looked upon as their leader. Her wise little head was full of plans, and her eyes would flash fire as she gave her orders to the youths who followed her. Her deeds were talked of far and near, and the people began to say, "Surely a god has come down to lead us and help us hold our mountain against the roaming tribes of banditti." When she was but 16 years old, she was placed at the head of the mountain clan. The men and boys looked upon her as the French did upon Joan of Arc, and gave her their fullest confidence and devotion. She knew their mountains, all the paths leading up and down, the places which needed to be guarded, the caves where she and her soldiers could hide and spring out upon an unsuspecting foe. The men of the land had either been away fighting, or at home tilling laboriously their poor lands, so there was no one who knew the hills and valleys as did Qinting. In every attack she was successful until the neighboring tribes were subdued and left the little kingdom in peace, for, they said, "We cannot fight against a god." When their enemies were thus overcome, Qinting's father and mother thought that the time had come when their daughter should marry. From the north and the south, the east and the west, came offers for her hand, but she would listen to none of them, for she said she had still to rescue her land from their great southern foe, the Chinese. Her parents laid their commands upon her until at last she yielded so far as to say, "I will marry none but the man who can defeat me in my own mountains." She wrote her vow on a tablet and had it set up in the main pass through which all must go to reach the heights. Many were the battles fought by the heads of the other tribes, but she easily held her mountain. One day, the general of the northern Sung dynasty, Cao Chongpao, on his way to report to the emperor, crossed the pass and seeing the tablet read the inscription, and in disgust broke the slab into bits, saying, "Is it possible that in our great land there is a woman with so little self-respect as thus to proclaim her want of feminine delicacy? She must surely be some great, overgrown, ugly creature. I would stamp upon her even as I do upon the broken bits of this tablet," as he ground them under his feet. A man of the mountains, who had heard from his lookout post the bitter words, ran in hot haste to Qinting and told her all that the general had said and done. The proud maiden was furious at being thus scorned, and blowing her horn summoned the men of the mountains to hear the insult offered her and to revenge her wrong. Meanwhile, General Cao had decided to give battle and punish this woman. While he was making inquiries as to who she was, her men came upon him with great fury. With amazement, the famous general saw the young girl who led them. The engagement was long and severe, but resulted in the defeat of the Chinese leader, who was made a prisoner and carried to the home of Qinting to be beheaded. Now, General Cao was a very handsome young man of distinguished bearing. His admiration for his conqueror was so evident in his looks and words that he not only disarmed her anger but won her heart. She decided to marry rather than to kill him. The wedding was hastily arranged, and the general with his bride set out at once for Peking to take his report to the emperor and to take command of a large force which was to move southward from the capital to recapture the city of Yangzhou, which was in the hands of southern rebels. According to the law of the land, any officer, under orders, who married during a campaign should be beheaded. When the emperor heard the story of General Cao, he ordered that he be degraded and at once executed. But later, as he heard more and more of the valor of the wife he had taken, he said, "If she will take the city of Yangzhou, her husband's life shall be her reward." She was given command of the army in place of Cao Chongpao, who was allowed to accompany her as assistant. She led the army to the south and attacked the city day after day with resistless energy and resourcefulness. After a long siege, the stronghold fell into her hands. The governor was taken prisoner, and sent as voucher for the completeness of her conquest to the emperor. On his arrival, the papers granting pardon to her husband were sent to Qin Ting, and she was made commander-in-chief of the imperial forces. For 30 years, she led them in many victorious battles, and recovered much territory which had been lost by the Northern Kingdom in previous years. A picture showing her attack on the gates of Yangchao is a great favorite with the Chinese, and always on sale at the New Year, when Chinese homes are freshly decorated.